here's actually a funny RPR story for you. After we met up, I don't know, a month ago, 2 months ago, um, I had a guy on the table where I couldn't get the synchronization properly. The glute wouldn't fire in the right order. It was like it was erector, hamstring, then glute, rather than glute, hamstring,
Yep.
erector, whatever it
Yep.
was.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And every single time, I couldn't just get the glute to contract in isolation, and to have it unless the erector contracted. I tried fucking everything. Bro, I released the psoas. I recruited the psoas. I stretched the hamstring. I stretched the glute. I needled the glute. I did a ton of stuff. And then I rubbed behind his motherfucking ears.
Yeah. Yeah. And that it's crazy, right? Um, I know. And why that spot, right? And I think you and I've had this conversation. The reason that that's tied to the glute is because your first hip extension, this goes back into the neonate or the prenatal development and all that stuff, right? Where your first extension pattern is essentially to root for food. So that's why one of the glute spots is in the back of the ridge of the skull. And then your second hip or extension pattern is to open your mouth to feed as a baby. And those are hardwired in. So, people ask, well, you're not hitting your glutes. Why does RPR turn the glutes on if you're in the back of the skull or behind the ear? And I'm like, you know what? I think this could be a reason and it's tied together. We know there's so many fascial lines that run down through there, right? So, and again, this is why we just test it, retest it. The other thing you can do, remember, is a lot of times, and I don't use it in most cases, because I don't want them to solely rely on it, but is that toe reflex. You know what I mean? If you're testing somebody and the glute doesn't turn on, use the toe reflex. But again, I use that in training. Everything we do, whether you're pushing or pulling, you should squeeze your big toe. Because if the glute stabilizes and the hips are stable and strong, then the entire spine will stabilize and you'll be a stronger person. If you have glute dysfunction, if you just walked around, like I've done this, somebody's glute's not working. All right, go to lunch. On the way to lunch, just walk your toe. Walk with your big toe, squeeze it into the ground, and push yourself forward with your hips. They come back, and guess what? Their glutes are turned on. Right? I didn't do anything. There's no intervention there. It's bananas, right? Like because I think that's the proper pattern for us. And I call it the toe glute reflex if people want to look it up. It's not the Babinski reflex, right? It is not the Babinski reflex because that's a whole different thing. But yes, it's associated with it. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
ultimately, I'm just like, yeah, this is what works. And people go, well, even if I'm doing uh, a lat exercise versus a bench, yes, right? Like because look, if I Mike, if I was going to grab you and pull you and let's say I was going to throw you, I have to stabilize my glutes or I fall forward, right? I have to have a muscle. So everything I in my gym, everything we do, and I could take you through some videos of my actual real athletes doing stuff. And you people don't see it, but you can see the toe. If you look at one of my videos like a glute ham high speed, it's a glute ham hyper. I think I have an Olympian on there, and you can see her foot and her toe literally grab the plate before she is flying down and then goes up to read. People think she's going to tear her hamstring. It's so violent and fast. But like I'm like, yeah, you know what? If everything's in the right coordinated fashion, if all the muscles are relaxing, if the patterns are correct, uh, you know, if you're doing rehab exercise with athletes, you're wasting their time in that situation. You know what I mean? Like it's bananas, right? Um, I don't really see her there. You want to look at a scary one. You want to do in if you want to look at razor curl power. Yeah. You have to probably put my name behind it. It is if somebody wants to see it, like you'll think that yeah, there it is. Oh no, no. Keep scrolling. That's one of my assistants. He's not very fast. He was good. Oh, there it is. That one with the light blue shirt. If it's razor curl with intention. Oh, you hit the wrong one, buddy. Down a little bit more with the blue, light green. Yeah, 17-year-old. If people want to see something, how violent, and you're playing in slow motion, but it is violent, right? You can see play normal. It's like a
Oh,
yeah, it's like a blur. But and people were like, Cal, like, how's that athlete? He's 17. How's his hamstring not pull apart? And I'm like, well, he's been through an eccentric phase. He's been through an isometric, right? I took him through power and his hamstrings and have all the right patterns. The muscle relaxes at a high rate. He should be like, there's no reason somebody can't do that. You know what I mean? And I'm going, and my a lot of my videos have interns, and they're not that great compared to my female athletes. I don't do I can't do university athletes or film them, but so the female Olympians seem to be the only ones that I can do because the pros, I can't put them in my videos. So anyway, but like people are looking at some of those, and when the athletes are doing them, you're like, oh, that's terrifying. I had a coach stand beside the glute ham, and the first person goes to do it. And when that happened, he actually I had to catch him because he jumped back. He was so fucking scared when the athlete started doing it because it was so violent. And he was like, oh, yeah, I mean, it rattled him for the whole day. You know what I mean? Like he was an older coach. He's one of those old coaches, right, that comes in and, oh, I want to see what you do. Okay, great. And he spends the whole day kind of justifying what he's done for 20 years or 30 years. You know what I mean? You're like, yeah, I thought you came here to maybe learn something new and not justify. You know what I mean? I'm like, because like I don't do anything that you do here, and I'm not saying what you do is right or wrong. A lot of people, I just keep progressing and try to find better ways. Is all I've done. You know what I mean? I'm
but
just trying to find the best way because I don't
Cal, you
feel.
must be the unique one though. Like, how many guys really in the world are like as creative as you, as knowledgeable as you, and have the balls like you do? Like, you put out stuff that like is like at the forefront. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like there's even like the groundwork for it. Like, you just come out of from nowhere, like, hey, try rubbing behind the ears,
Yeah.
and seeing how this improves function. Like, most people, even if they had the knowledge, they probably wouldn't put it out there because they'd be like, no, I can't fucking do that,
I,
you know?
it is, yeah, and like if you're not willing to listen, right? And my close friends will be like, they'll say like, you'll fucking throw everything out if you find something better, won't you? I say, you're damn right I will, right? I'm
Yeah.
not afraid to throw it out. And now I'll step back. The reason I think I've gotten a lot of things right is if I see something that works, a method, I actually got to figure out the principle of why it works, right?
Mm,
Because a method is a method. And then, but you can't make the method better if you don't understand the why behind the method. So you have to understand the principle of why that method works. And then guess what opens up? A ton more methods,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that I mean, there's people that do this the way you guys think. Obviously, you're sitting here going, "Yeah, I'm gonna figure out the root cause of this performance benefit." But so many people don't go just beyond a method to look. You know what I'm saying? And what I just do is, and I don't think I'm creative. I can solve problems. I'm a problem solver. So my formula is I question everything I do, which then creates problems that I didn't know existed. And then I make solutions for the problem. So there's my three steps to creating new stuff. And I'm not very creative. I'm a problem solver. So maybe I am, but that's the process. Question everything I do, going, is this the best? I test stuff. I'm like, oh, I don't think this is maybe right or is optimized. I find a problem, and then, well, here's the problem. Now let's make a solution or find a different method to even make it better. And that's kind of the process of how I do things to make sure that, hey, you know, I think I'm trying to stay on top of it. But again, I stay with principles because even some of my principles from 20 years ago that I found or created they're still right. You know what I mean? It's just the methods of how we implement it are different, maybe. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think I don't get pigeonholed. I haven't been wrong on too many things because, well, first of all, I don't, I know people that come up with an idea, write a book about it, and then see if it works. Versus before I released Triphasic, I was doing it like 12 years. You know what I mean? Like nowadays, people will write, hey, I got this theory. I'm going to write a book about it. Okay, great. And they don't say it's a theory. They say, if you're going to say something, then, hey, this is theoretical principle. Okay, I haven't fully proven it, but they won't, right? They won't. I understand that. But the thing is people nowadays, they write books about something they thought of versus, and they've never used it in training. I'm just like, oh, so,
But I
and
think
people,
you really care about results, right? Because I
yeah,
remember, like you told me, or you told the world on the first podcast, where you were like, "Look, I'll implement exercises without like telling someone that something's off, just because I want to see like, does it actually work? Like, do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, you'd
yeah,
see like you do something to try and get their glute med, but you're not going to tell them that there's something off with their glute med because you don't want to influence them, but then you just want to see if it works. So you only care about results. You don't
yeah,
care about, it's like the famous Musk quote, right? It's like, I don't care about the perception of good. I just want to do good. Like you just care about results. You don't care about
right.
the sort of the perception of it. Do you know what I mean?
100%. And like one of the things I discovered, and I'll give you the example of what I did, was that tonus muscle creep, right? So I found that if you keep doing a bench press set, if you look at the muscle tone, the normal state of the muscle keeps getting more tension in it with each set. So then I was like, how do I solve that problem? So the day I kind of made up uh, a way to, let's say, uh, stop that muscle tone from creeping up in the gym, I didn't tell my assistants what was going on because I have found even if I let them know, I'd never let the athletes know. We're just going to do it this way today. We're going to see what happens. And I can't even let the assistants know because then I realize that they're influencing things by their tones. So the day that happened, like instead of doing four typical sets before people dropped off, when I figured out the muscle tone thing and how to take it out, I was like, the athletes did 8 sets and we're hitting lifetime PRs in their vertical. And you're sitting here going, and my assistants were looking at me like, and my interns, and they're going, what the hell's going on here? Athlete, I had a guy at that time, he'd probably been with me 9, 10 years, and he had a lifetime hands-on hip vertical jump on his like 7th set of going through a block of like 12 exercises. So what I was doing basically was taking the tone out of the muscle because with each set it would climb, which if there's tone in the muscle, there's just constant tension, you can't relax. Does that make sense? So you become less coordinated. So then I realized that auto regulation with a vertical jump, saying, hey, we're going to keep going until bar speed drops. Well, bar speed doesn't drop because of fatigue. It's actually lack of coordination, especially in the higher end athletes. So all these years, I thought I was, and I think I got some of the first tendos in the country, maybe. I don't know. I was pretty close. I mean, I had them since 2001, 2000s maybe. And I thought I was monitoring fatigue when bar speed dropped. And then I have other devices tell me I'm not monitoring to fatigue. I'm actually I realize I'm monitoring muscle tone because the second muscle tone goes up, bar speed goes down. Second muscle tone goes up after doing a bunch of exercises, the vertical jump goes down because of lack of coordination. So the auto regulation principle on fatigue was completely flawed, even though I followed it for 18 years. And there was nothing better. I didn't have anything better to do. I didn't know why, but eventually I found out that it wasn't truly fatigue. It was just the creeping of the muscle tone that sneaks up and you're less coordinated, which is even my best athletes. When that muscle tone goes up, they don't look as fluid. The bar speed doesn't go. They can't jump as high. So again, this is just indicating, Booker, how important that relaxation part of the muscle is, right? This is the magic. That's in my opinion, magic.
Mhm.
Let me pull you back real quick. I want to show you two things. First thing I want to show you is the UB sinew channel. You see that?
Yeah.
These are the muscles, the areas. So this is the line that the urinary bladder goes down for acupuncture, and you see the muscles it impacts.
Oh
Right,
yeah.
look right behind the neck,
Oh, I
right,
know.
and then also look at the upper sacrum. Where does that go as well? Right. So that whole line, and one principle of acupuncture is if you do something somewhere on the meridian, it impacts everywhere on the meridian. It's like the butterfly effect, but it's almost to what degree does it help? That's why you could do distal acupuncture. Like if you have, let's say, a headache under your eye, you could probably needle your toe, your pinky toe, and it could have some kind of impact on that headache around that area. Now, it depends on the severity of it. And with athletes, it usually has to be a little bit more direct than distal acupuncture points. Now, here's the other one I want to show you as well. The other meridian right here. Where are we? This one's called the gallbladder meridian. Now, with the gallbladder meridian, this is a quote unquote lateral sling, but you see the point is right behind the ear. And where does that go? It goes right to that glute.
Yep.
It attaches to the sacrum there.
100%.
So your RPR has two different points that impact the same area, probably for different reasons too, if they're associated with acupuncture meridians and those slings. But the behind the ear is gallbladder,
Yeah.
and behind right underneath the skull, that's UB channel, and both of them positively impact the uh,
Right.
the glutes.
Well, here's the thing, boss. If you look at the meridians, which I have, and you're more well versed in those than me, because I mean, how many years did you study that? And
Yeah,
yeah,
five years.
5 years. Yeah, right. Cal Dietz read on it for a couple months, right? Like, so I'm not at your level. Because every time you tell me more, you're like, hey, this connects with this. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, it does. I bet it does. Right? Because it has to. You know what I mean? But look at the magic that we're involved in here. And when I say magic of the human body, those meridians, as they if people look at them and go, okay, and I think I have a little better understanding than most when you look at those pictures, because I'm like, oh yeah, that's why this connect. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, and then you take the slings that people talk about, which aren't far off the meridians, and you got systems laid over systems in ways that the body compensates. How magical is this organism we got that we're trying to train, right? So you're sitting here going, this is utterly bananas. So Mike, if you acupuncture below the skull and behind the ear, I'm sure the glutes would turn on. Have you tried it yet?
So acupuncture, acupressure, it's the same thing. It's only to the depth, right? To what
Yes.
depth does it occur? So RPR is essentially can be utilized as acupressure,
Acupressure, yes.
right? So have I needled behind the
You
ear
just have it
for the
tested. You
yeah,
just have it tested,
yeah,
right?
yeah. But it's real cool to see a lot of the connections. Now, another did you end up reading the book that I sent you yet? It's called The
No.
Spark. It's called The Spark in the Machine.
Yeah, no.
Now, for people listening, you hear acupuncture channels and acupuncture meridians. They're the same thing. It's
Yeah.
just like, it's just a different word for the
Tomato,
same thing.
tomato. Yeah.
Um, in that book, he talks about the acupuncture channels being misunderstood, that they're actually fascial lines. And if that's the case, then the sling theory, the fascial sling theory, all that type of stuff, the acupuncture channels actually coincide with a lot of that stuff. So if you look back at that gallbladder meridian, the lateral sling, or whatever anyone wants to call it, I mean, you could see it right here. It's on the side of the body. Now,
Yeah.
in acupuncture, what is that? That's Xiao Yang, Xiao Yin, Shui Yin. Anyway, um, That's the side of the body, and that would be training the side or impacting the side, however it is. You see, it even goes over the lateral malleolus, and then
Yeah.
it connects to the top of the foot as well, and it goes to the side of the skull, the top of the skull, all around the entire body. Now, I haven't obviously done any cadaver lab with fresh cadavers or anything. I've seen them, but I haven't cut open fresh cadavers to see if there are these fascial lines. Some people have and have suggested that they're there, but to me, I don't have the eye for it, and I don't know. But it's really cool to see everything kind of sort of come together, where everyone's talking about the same thing, just using different verbiage for it.
Yeah. And I look, so the meridians would be more details. So like the slings that we're talking about like large muscle groups. But we know those are all not absolute, because like the gallbladder you just showed us doesn't follow any of those slings theoretically. But we know it's a system in there. And like and it's so overlaid. I just can't imagine they've nailed every sling that exists, and there's just no way. There's just and I don't know if any of these fascia researchers would actually say, yes, we've nailed it all. Because it would be like having an entire, it's more complex than this, but trying to say, hey, we've got everything figured out in the New York City's electrical system. Well, you don't really, pal. You know what I mean? You just don't. It'd be like saying one electrician has it all figured out. You don't. You know what I mean? So things have been rewired without codes. People have been bought off to rewire electricity. You know, it's just like, yeah, no, you don't have it figured out, buddy. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's and to me, the only way to figure out things is just test it and retest it, right? Just do a quick test, see what happens, right?
So to your credit with this too, to back this up even further, have you seen any of the EMG studies or the anatomy studies on just the QL?
I've only
Everyone,
heard about some things. I
e-
haven't dug in.
e-
What do you got?
everyone's anatomy on the QL is different as to where it originates and where it inserts. Some people go down to the sacrum. Some fibers go to L5, L4, L3. Not everyone's. Some originate from the lower rib. Some originate from the 11th rib. Like, it's all over the map as to it's not consistent. Every human is pretty different in even just one muscle like the quadratus lumborum. Just in one muscle. The anatomy for everyone is different. That's one muscle.
Yeah.
Imagine every fucking muscle. So for
Well,
us to have the blueprint, like, fuck.
well, Mike, like let's take a look at just a world-class sprinter versus let's look at a different athlete, one that a swimmer, both world class. You can't tell me like they're just different. They're just different, right? So the adaptations that take place over time of thousands of reps a day, you know what I mean? And here's the irony, right? Like here's the irony here. You're going to tell me if somebody's got a bad pattern, they walk around 5,000 steps with a bad glute pattern, that even if you got it right in the gym, that you just got lucky maybe. And you got 100 right reps in the gym of the right glute pattern and then they go out and walk 5,000 steps with the wrong one. Like you think that what you did, no, they just erased. It's not your fault as a coach. They just erased everything you did, right? So again, one of the big things I tell my athletes is make sure we're walking right, and that's foot strikes the ground, big toe grabs, so the glute fires forward. You know what I mean? The glute fires forward, right? So yeah, like let's not be naive, or a PT is going to go, oh yeah, I do this exercise and I actually got the great. But then if they're walking the wrong way, or they walk out in flip flops, guess what? It's over, right? They're going to erase the good work you did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's funny. I wonder how many PTs, chiros, acupuncturists, fascial stretch therapists, when they do the test retest on, let's say, postural, right? Like, so one thing I do to check hip height is I'll measure the medial malleolus and see symmetry, asymmetry. How many of them check it, make their adjustment, or do their stretching, or do their needling, then they see it go back, then have them do a motor pattern that either causes pain or did cause pain, or just a basic motor pattern, then have them get back on the table and see if it held after 20 minutes. Very few of them.
They
Very
don't.
few of them don't do it. Very, very few of them do it. I do it and I'm like, all right, let's see if it held. Shit, it didn't hold.
Right?
Now we got to do all this fucking work all over again sometimes.
Or something different,
Ex-
right?
exactly.
That's what I do, right? I just test, retest. That's it. Test, retest. It's a simple principle. It sucks because what you think should have made it work and what you've been told, it doesn't always do it, right? It sucks, man. It's hard and you realize, man, it's so frustrating. But again, you know who gets the most frustrated is somebody who's been in the field 20 years and who is like, oh, maybe everything I've been doing is wrong. And it's like, well, you got results, so it's not wrong, right? Don't think of it that way. But look, we got to find a better way. You know what I mean? There's just so many better ways. And if you look at like people don't know, but if you're going to look at my most recent programs, you could search triphasic training current programs and you'll find the blog posts. I listed about 5 of the 12 I probably got. And you're going to see exercises and you're going to look at hand positions and you're going to go, why is he doing it that way? Why the foot? And so in the simplest form, Mike, I have somebody do a bench press. I get them up and I'll test the muscle. And the feedback might be not so great. Then I have them do all my exercises are usually integrated with cross crawl. So instead of just doing a bilateral stance while they're bench pressing, laying on the bench, I stagger it. And I only do this with lighter loads. And then if this foot is back, okay, then this hand, the same side hand. So if the foot is staggered, the left foot's back, then the same side hand should be supinated on the bar. And when you do that, bench press with the same weight, same load, same reps, get them up, muscle test them, they'll test strong. And they're going, what the hell just happened? I'm like, what happened is it's a more brain friendly exercise. So, if somebody wants to look at the Yuri exercise that I created, I named it after Yuri Verkhoshansky, right? And it's the Yuri, bring it up. If you want to look at the exercise, and why it's so good is because it actually mimics the gait pattern. So everything I do, and eventually I've nailed it down to if I can mimic things. So yeah, so if people want to look, and this is just a stage 1, right? So that exercise right there, it's mimicking running. So the day I created that exercise, and people on the Instagram are saying, "Hey, Yuri Verkhoshansky invented this exercise." He didn't. I just named it after him, right? Like, but I'm like, I gotta mimic this. So I didn't even know if the exercise would work. So I ran some kids on the 1080, and my assistants and me tried the exercise, and my glutes felt great. Yeah, there's a good one, right? So if you want to pause that at one point for people, yeah, there it is, there it is. Yeah, if you want to pause it there, that's fine. Um, so if you notice when she drives, so that left leg, her left leg's up and her left hand's on a peg, a small peg. That hand's pronated because that's how she would be in the gait cycle. Okay, the right leg's back, driving, and Mike, and then her. So she actually, okay, so she is a 3-time Olympian for me. And when she hits that, so this is when the eye stuff kind of came in. I was thinking about it. I'm like, oh man, that's just a pain in the ass to put it in my exercises. So Mike, that female Olympian, her name's Lee Steckline. She's been with me about 11 years. I probably coached her less than any human because this is no shit. She made me a better strength coach,
Just
right?
watch her. Just watch.
No, Mike. I can tell you there's multiple exercises that I said, all right, this is what I want to do. This is the exercise. She'd look at it. I'll just tell you one. There was one for the lateral sling and ab abduction, high speed with bands. So we were showing them everybody this day, and everybody gets in, and they put their right hand, they're doing their right leg, they put their right hand on the post, and everyone's doing it. I'm like, oh, okay. And then she goes, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna watch her. And she takes her left hand and puts it on the fucking post. Sorry about the swear word. She's doing her right leg. And I went, holy shit, she's right. Because if you put your hand on the left hand, this is the slings that run through. So she stabilized with the hand she's supposed to. Every athlete in the gym did it the opposite way. So then I go, okay, so what I do? I test, retest. I took my athletes. I said, hold with your right hand. We're going 5 seconds as fast as you can. We counted. Okay, you got 11 reps. They go with the left hand and stabilize. They got 16 reps or 15. I'm like, she did it again to me, right? So, but I watch her move. I don't. She does a new exercise. I don't coach her. She sees it. So then with the Yuri in that rack, Mike, she I don't even know if she knows she does this. Well, I don't even want her to know she does this for me, right? Because I don't want her to feel pressure and then overthink something, and then Mike giving me the wrong feedback, right? Because if she walks into something and does it naturally, and then I got in front of the rack and said, "Hey, I'm going to watch your shoulders and stuff." And Mike, on that Yuri, when she pushed with her right leg, at the end, her eyes gazed to the left. And I fucking realized, I'm like, holy shit. So I told my athletes, when you're driving with your right leg, look to the left. And then, so what we did, Mike, is like coaches don't believe me. If you get your hands right and you get everything right in your eyes, I'm like, posture kind of just falls into place right correctly. You know what I mean? So you can coach posture, but if you get everything in the right sequence, you're going, hey, this falls into place. So on that Yuri exercise, I switched everybody over, and then I had coaches come in like, "Is it really that important?" I'm like, "Okay, let's do 10 seconds with a Yuri, and the right way." And he got like 12 reps in 10 seconds. It was his first time, whatever. And then he switched all his hands, did the eyes the opposite. Everything's the opposite of what I say. He only got 6 reps because it was so uncoordinated. You know what I mean? So you're going, that's just a simple example. But if you get everything in the right order, and people say, well, you do EMGs, and I didn't do these, but I had a friend did it for me. I'm not an EMG expert. This guy is, he's in a different country. He's a coach that we correspond with. And he was like, Cal, the muscles are more activated the wrong way when you do it the wrong way, but no one can get the amount of reps. And I'm like, I know. So the point is you actually might activate the muscles more, but it's not the right coordination, and then you're not teaching relaxation. So I'm not about turning the muscles on. I want the right sequence of everything, right? Like that's the magic in all this. Even elite strength athletes, like, and you're talking like ballerinas, even they put EMGs on. Now there's some people out there that have claimed that sometimes the muscle's not even like contracting, as they say, right? But the level of contraction is so low on some of these ballerinas when they're doing these unbelievable things. But they got in a frame of mind in the zone per se when they were doing their routine, right? It's pretty crazy. So, and yeah, it's I want a bunch of ballerina athletes doing my exercises, and not like some bilateral meathead back, or, power lifter. And we love power lifters, right? But they can't even walk correctly. You know what I mean? They're not even close. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. So, oh man, there's so many Instagram posts on Ronnie right now, right? It's lightweight, baby. I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's fucking great. So,
Awesome. Brooker, you have anything else?
Maybe if you don't, if we've got a bit of time, go into then this about the muscle activation with ballerinas, right there, where you said the muscles don't contract in like the typical way. Are you talking more like like in terms of like firing and like outputs, or are you talking about more like that they're in like using much more of like sort of like isometric based contractions because they're so efficient, so there's not as much movement, like use it, like you heard like the whole DIS from Rolf and Randy and stuff like that. Are you talking about this,
yeah.
like a very good stiffness which is more efficient and requiring
Yeah.
less output, or are you talking about more the mental and psychological framework that they're in flow state and they're very, very relaxed, and
Yeah.
it's almost like that they're not controlling their own body. It's like happening for them. Like, what are you talking
Yeah.
about?
Well, so here this gets a little like voodoo, but there were some claims on some people analyzing some highest level ballerinas that the EMG showed no muscle activity while they were doing their, and I'm like, did it fall apart? Like, and I'm going, like, how is that possible? But then there's other people that did show it, but it was such a light level because of the coordination, and maybe Mike, you guys, maybe the fascia is doing the work, the tendons are doing more work. I don't know, but we know if they get into that routine that all of a sudden the muscles just, and I don't think it was like, I don't, and Mike, I think I read this in a book, The Secrets Behind the Iron Curtain or something like that. There's some, and it was like a psychological ops book where they talked about some of the experiments they did in the Soviet Union, where they did they did some whacked out stuff, right? Let's be honest. I mean, they took a litter of rabbits down deep in a submarine, and they were monitoring the mother. They didn't know when they were going to do it, but they literally snapped the neck of all the babies. And we're talking the litter of babies is deep in the ocean on a submarine, and the mother responded in real time, instantly, when each of those babies were killed. Right. And that's type metaphysics shit, right? So then, and I think it was in the same book about the ballerinas, but you're going, and that's only the best ones that could reach that highest level. So the central nervous system, obviously, if you can get into a flow state, you have some complete control, or at least you're in a state that you currently have some high levels of control. So when I say the muscle needs to relax, most people think locally, but there is a level of intensity and there's a level of control through the central nervous system versus the local area. And you're sitting here, and I'm going, if you can get the mind right and everything, then I think you can become more optimal. But the level of activation, but yet people can still produce large amounts of results, and they do it in a, let's be honest, they're in a happy state. They're embraced in the moment, right? Like, so that's kind of what I'm talking about. It gets into like some metaphysical stuff. But yeah, that state, and people can talk about things, and now with all the treatments that people go to, and I had a buddy send me some videos of him training, but he was in a different world, but a lot of trauma. He went to do some treatments, and he says everything's better just in my training because I went to do some ibogaine or whatever it was. I'm not sure. You know what I mean? So because his state of mind was literally inhibiting getting to that next level of performance, right? And he performs on a level that he needs to survive. It's life and death, right? So yeah, it's crazy. So again, we're talking about a system, and I wish it was just the central nervous system, right? But there's more to it than that. The integration of all from the pineal gland, like many people think that might be our level of consciousness, but it's wrapped through. There's fascia running. There's connections through that all. Who knows? Like when you start digging down this thing, Mike and I have had that conversation. You get so deep, Booker, that we all know that there's something more to. And look, all these problems we talk about, bad patterns, our society is causing them because we set too much. We wear the wrong shoes, most likely, right? There's a lot of things. School's not made for little boys, in my opinion. Because I would test my son after school on a Friday. There wasn't a muscle turned on in his body, it didn't look like. Saturday morning, wake up, didn't have school, he would be turned on. My daughter loves school. She'd be turned on all the time because she couldn't wait to go to school. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Our society kind of screws up patterns, but it also might be screwing up our whole interpersonal person in regards to like the metaphysics and how we interact with nature, and nature's where we should be. So it gets deep, and So to say that we have the answers here on this podcast, we'd be lying to people. You know what I mean? Like, but Mike, we probably should do another drinking one and see where we can get with it.
I was
Get the spirits out. Yeah.
I was gonna say, well, we might not have the answers for strength conditioning, but you want to talk religion and politics? I got the fucking
Yeah,
answers.
we'll nail it every time. Oh, we'll nail it every time. Like that, yeah, I mean, oh boy, politics, you're like, oh boy, right? So hey, I could figure it all out and solve the problems if I knew the whole truth. You know what I mean? If anybody knew the whole truth, whether you completely think different than me, that's fine. It's just, are we really getting the whole truth? You know?
And on that note, let's call it.